Welcome to the All Access Entertainment Podcast. I am your host, Joseph Bruen, and here this week, another very special guest. This week, an OG from the world of promo photos. He's a longtime collector, an upcoming author, which we will talk about, among many other things. Been involved for a long time in the world of pro wrestling, shoot interviews, and we'll also touch on that. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Andrew Khellah, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you here. We're going to take a little deep dive into, your life in the world of professional wrestling and everything that you've been a part of. So let's kind of rewind to the very beginning. Growing up as a kid, when did you first discover pro wrestling? Who were some of your favorites?
I first discovered pro wrestling. My first recollection was in 1985. I was 4. And I remember the first memory I have was of our mutual pal, Tito Santana. I told him this story, but I never said it publicly, so I'll be happy to share it with you. Tito Santana was getting his leg broken by Greg the Hammer Valentine, who's managed by Lou Albano. I remember crying as a kid. He took the title from Tito. I thought he stole the Intercontinental title. This was when they had the whole angle where Tito had his leg broken, and they even shot some vignettes where he's in the hospital. So I remember following that story, and I remember just being glued into pro wrestling at that time. Then I think they had the big blow off in the cage. Tito got his belt back, and that was my first memory of watching wrestling. And the how I started watching wrestling is before I was even born. My father was a cab driver in Newark Airport. He used to drive a lot of the wrestlers, and on the back of my wallet size pictures, I'll see autographs of Junkyard Dog, Tito Santana. I believe there's one of Nikolai Volkov, one of S.T. Jones. There was a few guys like that, and actually. One of the guys he did pick up because he had a long station wagon, and that's part of what's in the book. But I go into detail is him driving Andre the Giant just by sheer luck, because at the time my father had he was one of a handful of guys that had like the big sedan cars or the station wagons back in the
Yep.
early 80s, those SUVs, those Cadillacs. So he was one of those that had the car. And I said that I told Andre's daughter Robin this when I met her, and I shared some pictures in the book and everything. But I wanted to tell you guys, I love your show, so I wanted to share some stories that I've never talked about. But he picked up Andre. Just all they told him was, oh, there's somebody at Terminal B with a lot with that we have a big heavy set man that needs to be taken. So he and in Newark Airport, how it works is when you're at the stack, there's a line. So he didn't want to cut the line, but the dispatcher specifically said any vehicle that has the capability to take somebody with a lot of luggage or a big man, we need somebody now. So he was one of the only ones there. And it was late. I think it was sometime. He told me the story. It was like either 6, 7 o'clock at night, and he wasn't wrestling. I think it was for the next show, but he was landing in Newark Airport. When he pulled up, Andre was surrounded with fans and people, and my father's like, "Oh wow, look, Andre the Giant." He didn't think like he was gonna pick him up. When he stopped the car, he's asking the dispatcher. The dispatcher has her arm in Andre's arm, like they're holding together, like she's friendly with him. And she's like, "Here you go, sir." And my dad's like, "Holy cow, I'm gonna drive Andre." So Andre got in this car. My dad remembered that the car went down when Andre sat in. He had one luggage with him. He sat down. And he was quiet the whole ride. My dad drove, and I remember my father telling us the story over and over how he gave my father a big tip, and he actually signed an autograph. It was actually in the back of my brother's picture because at the time my brother was going to school. He was older than me by 3 years. So I told my dad, "How come you never, you know, got me Andre the Giant autograph?" He goes, "Well, you didn't have school pictures yet at the time. You were not even in kindergarten yet." So that's what led into the story later, how I got this piece. So this is actually my favorite piece of all the promos for a reason. This is Andre's last promo. Um, this was like overkill to get it. I knew it was, but my father got me this promo while he was alive. This was, we went to an auction, not an auction house. It was, I believe it was an auction house. They did somewhere in Pennsylvania where they were selling like toy trains and other kind of collectibles that I wasn't into. But my dad at the time, this was like when this was before internet. My dad wasn't really big with internet, but he would read the newspapers and see advertisements for used cars and collectible shows and things like that. So he said, "Oh, there's a show coming up. Maybe we'll go get something." He picked this up, and I think they were doing an auction. The starting bid was $1, and I think this went up to over $1,200. I think my
Mm,
dad got it at 1,200. We were lucky that there wasn't a lot of other wrestling fans, but there were people there that knew who Andre the Giant was. Obviously, even
yeah.
they weren't wrestling fans, but they knew who Andre was. So my dad, I said, "How much more were you going to plan to bid?" And he goes, "I would have kept going. Like, I wanted you to have." And plus, at the time, I was just happy to get Andre, but I didn't realize till later on. I was like, when I started going into promos, I go, "Let me check this thing, see if it's an actual promo." It was the promo. It's the 8.5 by 11 promo, and that this has been my favorite autograph of the entire collection. This is the centerpiece of my whole collection.
Mm,
Been offered up to 25 grand for it. I still have no desire to sell it. It's a very special piece because I got it with my dad before
right.
it was authenticated, before I went to PSA, and even PSA when I brought this. This was in 2014 when I got this letter authenticated, and I just had it just so I could have it authenticated. But they even offered, PSA said, "Would you like to sell this or get credit for vouchers for other things to get authenticated?" And I was like, "No, I'm going to
Mm,
keep it."
yeah, no
So
thanks.
yeah, so the promo game very well. That's how we got closer. And even when I hear guys like the Godfather himself, Mike Ford, he was on your show, and I love that episode. It's one of my favorite episodes. Or you've been in it a long, long time. Benjamin Globe, Ryan Reese, all these guys. Shout out to these guys, the OGs of promos. When they see something like this and they're like, "Wow, man, this is an awesome piece." It's like that's how, because of this, in unintentionally, I started getting into promos. Not
Yeah.
so much because it was promo, but it started with this piece and then it led into the other ones, which I'll show you whenever you like. But that's the favorite piece of my collection, and that's because of the connection with my dad. The story from Newark Airport where he met. I asked him, "Did you ever see him again or drive him again?" He goes, I seen him a couple times, but I never drove him again." But he did come into Newark Airport a lot with Arnold Skolin, or he might come with Tim White or somebody. But that day he remember. I asked him, "Do you remember where you drove him?" And he said he took him. He said he wanted to stop along the way. He said, "Oh, could we stop somewhere at a store or something?" But the store was closed, and then he ended up taking him straight to the hotel. So there was no
Wow.
show that night. But he took him to, I think it was the Ramada on in East Rutherford, 16W, when they had a Ramada Inn. I think they changed the name now, but that's just one of the stories. Just so many great stories that my father shared, and that's how I got the bond of wrestling. Wrestling became my first love, and it just snowballed ever since. And then that was my early memories of wrestling, was the Tito Santana, then slowly watching Saturday Night's Main Event and things like that.
And why don't we talk about the legacy of your father? What did he mean to you, and what did he mean to pro wrestling? Connecting with you, other than that story that you just told there. How meaningful was pro wrestling to him? Maybe even prior to you watching.
He used to be when he first came to this country. He came in 1972, 73 from Egypt with nothing. He came with $200 in his pocket. He always told us the story. My sister and my brother and I. He would tell us, He came in the wintertime with $200 in his pocket, and he bought a cashmere coat because when he came to America, it was very cold and he needed a coat. We still have the coat till today. It's sitting in this closet in where my sister lives now, in his place. So we you always look at it with fond memories. But my dad used to be a big fan of Bruno San Martino, Argentina Rocca. There was a lot of guys that he used to watch wrestling. Even before I was born in '81, but he used to go to some of the matches in Madison Square Garden uh, early on. He used to get comp tickets for sometimes driving some of these guys. I think Bear Mikel Sakula, if that's how to pronounce his name, if I'm mistaken. There were a couple of
Sukuna?
guys like that. They would, yeah, they would give him like comp tickets, and if he could go, sometimes he would come to the show like late because he was working, driving as a cab driver. So he would show up to the Madison Square Garden. He'd park the his taxi and catch like the second half of the show sometimes or whatever. And he used to take the pictures. He used to get pictures on the old, like, the when you take those little, he would get them developed and he had the negatives. So he used to show us that later on, but he used to always go to the wrestling shows. Then later on, my family, we had a restaurant. It was named after my mom, Alice. Her name was Alice, and it was on Asbury Park. And it would be right, literally 3 doors down from the Asbury Park Convention Hall. And there used to be wrestlers that used to come in there, Killer Bees. I used to tell Brian Blair, I'm like, yeah, I don't know if you remember, but you probably been. He goes, I've been in so many gyms and restaurants, but we met a lot of great people that took care of us. So Hercules used to come in there. I remember Jim Powers, whenever those guys would come, Asbury Park was considered like a sea town. We never saw Hogan there. Hogan never came there. But the first show I attended was, ironically, the first show that I went to with my dad and my family, we all went together, was May 26, 1987, and that's the show that Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Iron Sheik got popped on the Parkway with
Hmm.
the marijuana and all that, and it was all in the papers the next day. And that's part of it is in the book in great detail. And that's probably one of my biggest things that I would probably give up a kidney for, is to find that lineup sheet and the poster or something, or ticket stub from that show. But that show means a lot because I remember even earlier that afternoon, Butch Reed, my dad goes, "You just missed Butch Reed." And I was like, "He wasn't in here." He goes, "No, he was just in here. He came in. They're going to have the show here tonight. We're going." And it was on a Tuesday. I'll never forget, it was on a Tuesday. And I said, "Do I have to go to school tomorrow?" He goes, "Yes, you still have to go to school tomorrow, but we're going to go to the show." So we went
Wow.
to that show. That was the first show. And I remember, the only thing I can remember, I remember Bam Bam Bigelow was wrestling, because he's from Asbury, Asbury Park's own. It was like the opening match. The crowd was hot. It was Bam Bam against, if I'm not pronouncing his name, I apologize. Sifa Alpha, how you pronounce his name?
Oh,
Um,
CB
Siviafi, yeah, he was wrestling him in the opening match or the second match, and I just remember getting a great response. And Butch Reed and Tito Santana were wrestling. Slick was interfering, and Santana knocked him off the apron. I remember that vividly. I remember that, and I remember them. Originally, it was going to be George Steele and Hacksaw Jim Duggan against Iron Sheik and Nikolai Volkov, and they replaced them with Ken Patera. I think George
So this
Steele
was
didn't.
what, 1987?
This is May 26, 1987,
Okay.
Tuesday at 7:30 bell time. I remember it like, yeah, I remember, just I can't remember the rest of the matches. I wish I could. That's why I want to get the lineup sheet. Just because it's a special, it was the first show we ever went to. And that was
Hmm.
the very first show. Was that, and it just happened to be the night that it was so much controversy surrounding Duggan and Sheik and all of that afterward.
Wow. What a special memory. And you know what? Hopefully maybe somebody watching this will say, "Hey, I have that lineup sheet if you want it." Maybe
Yeah,
somebody will
I
reach
mean,
out.
I know you've been keeping your eyes peeled. You got a lot of contacts. I know Tommy Fierro has been looking. He has his store, and he goes, "Bro, I get guys coming in here with posters and lineup sheets, and that's the first thing I always look at first, if it's Asbury Park, and if it is, because he's been sending me pictures. Tommy, he's like, "Oh, is this the show? Is that the show?" I'm like, "No, I wish." So many times I come close. The date would be like May 16 or May 20 of 1987. I'm like, "Wow, I'm getting close. I'm getting all these lineup sheets." Then I went to a flea market, and I just happened to go there, and my wife was like, We should go to the flea market." And I remember going, "No, I don't want to go. I don't want to go." And I'm glad she pushed me, because I found like a bunch of lineup sheets the guy was selling for like pretty much nothing. And he was like, "Yeah, if you take them all, I'll give you a deal." So I took all these lineup sheets. I had Madison Square Garden cards in it. It had all these others. And I'm looking, and I'm like, please, if I could just find that one. And no luck. But I found
Yeah.
all these other ones. I found the Backlund with losing the title to Sheik from December of 26 of 83 in there, but I couldn't find the Asbury Park one on a regular
Wow.
show. But it was weird because I found other lineup sheets from sea towns and like somewhere in like Virginia or somewhere in Ohio, like odd towns. And I was just like, man, if I could just eventually, I know it will happen, and I'm waiting for that day. But that's part of the collecting, just the hunt of it all. Like just finding these things brings a joy to us. Sometimes it's not even worth what it is, but to us it's worth a lot. The
Yeah.
sentiment.
Yeah, it's all about the hunt. I mean, once you have everything, it's like, well, what's next? So you
Oh
got to
yeah.
have those items that are out there and you're waiting for them. You don't know how you're going to get them. That's the important part. You mentioned some of the OG collectors. So Ryan Reese, obviously from Canada, of course, Mike Ford, the godfather of promo
Yeah.
photos. From the UK, Benjamin Globe, as you mentioned. And there are other ones too. Michael Harley or Michael Harrell, I
Oh,
believe
yeah.
is how you pronounce his
We
name.
also got
And
Christian, Germany, I believe. Is he in Germany?
yep,
Christian?
Christian Wernitz and Marina Heinkel
Yep.
as
Hmm.
well. And, a lot of OG collectors that have been doing it for a long time. Ron LaFond, like you mentioned as well. Who were your first interactions with? Do you remember who out of the OGs, who did you first interact with and how did you connect with them? And kind of give us the backstory on that. How did you discover promos after the first couple you got, as far as eBay? Kind of tell us your early days.
That was like around 2000 when I started going to the conventions. And I know a lot of people, like, I'm not a big figure guy, but I seen all the people would stand in the line with the figures, and I'm just like, I just I like the way the promos looked, just the way that they, is shot in the studio, shot by Tom Buchanan or Steve Taylor, or I just love the way the promos looked. And it just started with one or two. Like, I'll see who's coming up, and then I'll go on eBay. This is when we could go on eBay and buy a promo for $10. It was nothing at the time. There wasn't many of us out buying these promos. So I started, like, sometimes the promos would fall into my lap as part of a lot. I would buy something, and I'm like, oh, I get a Nasty Boys, the LOD in here. I got this one. So they're coming in 3 months. I'll put this on the side and go from there. But I was big with the posters first. I fell in love with posters because there was a video store called Stop and Go Video in Jersey City. And on my way home, every day when I walked home, I used to get dropped off by my dad in the morning. But on my way back home, I would walk. And on my way, I would always stop at this video store, look at the glass, and every couple months it'd be a different one. It'll have Halloween Havoc, it'll have the WrestleMania 5 with Savage and Hogan, Mega Powers Explode. So I just remember as a kid just looking at how big and the posters looking. I'm just like, wow, I really love those posters. Then my wife helped somebody out that he was like a hoarder. My wife loves to clean. So there was a guy that this was by accident. She was just helping him out. She didn't ask for any money or right. She helped clean this guy's whole house. She's like, I feel bad for him. We're gonna stay for a few minutes. I was only going there to pick up one poster. She met him because I met him on Craigslist. This is back in, you don't know if you're gonna get killed or not, but the guy ended up being a nice guy. It was like 3 hours away from us. So we go to this guy's house, and his whole house is like a hoarder. Like, if we felt really bad for the guy, and she just told him, listen, you point and you just tell me, I'm gonna wash your dishes, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna help you. Like, let's try to organize, let's try to clean up this stuff. He liked her so much that he told her, Liz, like, I appreciate your help. He goes, how about this? Like, you want to go through this? He had a garbage bag, and they were all rolled with posters. And like, she's like, oh, if you want to look through them, and it looked like nobody had touched them. There was dust and everything. So she's like, no, no, I don't want to go through them. I don't need anything. I'm like, no, let me look through them. Hold on a second. Wait, he's giving us stuff here. Hold on. He's like, I'm giving
Yeah.
it to her, not to you. I'm gonna charge you. He's making a joke. But I said, I'll pay for these posters. I opened the first poster. It's the WrestleMania 4, the one with the tournament. It has Hogan and Andre, and it has all the guys in the little boxes, Don Morocco, DiBiase, and it was 2 weeks before Legends of the Ring in 2008. And I remember that day, One Man Gang was there, Jake the Snake was there. I think you were there. The Young Stallions, Howard Fink. There were so many guys there. And I remember in one day I got 15 of them signed in that same. And I just was like, wow,
Wow.
that's how the posters started happening. The posters was first, then the promos began happening. But to answer your question about the promos, I started buying promos in 2008, 2009, and the Mike was the first guy. He used to that website. When I started looking for promos, I didn't want the copies. I wanted the originals. So he would school me, and Mike would teach me how to. I'm sure he did with a lot of guys, and he was still is a great guy, great source of information. I don't know what our hobby would be without somebody like Mike and Ryan and all these guys, Ben and you, and just we're not going anywhere. We're the promo people. Like even during COVID, you saw how many guys wanted to come in the promo game, and then they would get out. They would lose interest. But we always had a fascination for promos, just because it didn't matter if the promo was worth $10 or $1,000. There were certain promos that were like, oh man, that's rare to find. That's the P1947. Like we knew what promos they were. But that's how it began with the promos for sure.
And in those early days of eBay, I remember promos being, 5, 10, $15. And, it was crazy back then, just you can get an original promo. I remember getting Vince McMahon promos for $10 to $20. I remember getting signed Vince McMahon promos from Big Andy Varga.
Andy Varga, I love Andy.
I would get signed Vince promos for, 25 to $75. And
Yes.
now you can't get them for less than 1,500 or whatever.
So you mentioned Vince McMahon, so I'll use this opportunity. It's a great segue, but I met Vince McMahon like during his court trial, like when he just had his from that accident. He was there, very
Hmm.
nice. This is the autograph that I got on the way in. It's still on the board where I was holding. This is the like nobody has ever seen this. I never took photos of it. This is
Oh yeah.
the promo he signed on the way in. And on the way out, when I got a picture with him, this is another one he signed. You see how he signed it both differently?
Oh yeah.
This one is like more of a full signature. This one was more rushed. But because nobody was there when he was coming out, he was taking his time. And all I was thinking was to get a photo with him. And I even had this one. It's not signed, but it was stuck to the back of this. And I didn't even realize it until after, because
Oh.
I was so shell shocked, Joe, that I met Vince McMahon. I'm getting a picture of him, but I couldn't believe that. Like, but he was so nice. The guy, there's the guy, I gotta give a shout out to Joe. His name is Joe, who brought me to the. He told me about it, and he told me to, why don't you come by? I know you've been wanting to meet Vince for a long time. He saw Vince many times, so he knew all the information. I took the drive there with the chance, 3 hour drive back and forth, that this might be a Zoom court. You might not even meet him. But this is the Vince McMahon one that he signed like full signature. I didn't get this one, but I bought this one a long time ago. But it's one of my favorites just because you can't get this kind of Vince signature anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
And it
That's
even
the
has the
classic.
letter. I mean, I sold this during the pandemic, and I ended up buying it back for more than
Oh.
what I
Oh.
spent. Like Shane DeLodge, shout out to him. He bought this for $2,000. He was a big bidding war for it, and I ended up paying him more than the 2,000 to get it back. Just because I was like, I want to get that Vince back, because I didn't know if I was gonna get these signed on my own. But I'm glad I got that one back. So that the Vince is probably, after Andre's, probably one of my second or third favorites, and I have other ones as well. If you'd like, I could show you as well.
Yeah, let's see him now.
So this is one of my favorites. This one actually I bought back for more money as well. The Mr. Perfect.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, this is the Mr. Perfect. I thought it was the rookie promo, but you actually surprised me. You showed one that was from 1986,
Oh
where
yeah.
it said Kurt Hennig, where I think he's wrestling in a ring or something. It's not a shot like this. And then this is the letter for it. But I love this because I've always been a big fan of Mr. Perfect. When I would play with my friends in the street, I would always spit my gum out and hit it.
Yep.
Because I love Mr. Perfect. I thought he was so cool. He was cool before cool was cool.
Did you
He
ever
had
get a
the
chance to
talent.
meet him?
I saw him once, but it was not to meet him, but I saw him outside. I think he was doing a show at Hudson Mall in Jersey City, but there were so many people they cut the line off. So I saw him there. My intention was to meet him, but I never got a chance to actually take a picture, get an autograph, because so many people were talking to him and they were taking up his time, and then they rushed him out. They took him. This
Hmm.
was 1991. After he lost to Brett and he stopped wrestling, he had came at some point to Hudson Mall in Jersey City, New Jersey, and Slaughter did that as well. Slaughter, after he turned babyface again and he want my country back, I got to meet him and take a picture with him at that time, but I didn't get a chance for Mr. Perfect.
Perfect was always one of my favorites as a kid. And, I remember being at the Providence Civic Center and getting on an elevator from the box office. And, you're not supposed to go on the elevator as a fan or as a kid because of where it was. There's no use for it as for a fan. So it's either
Yeah.
going to go up to the offices or it's going to go down to the locker room. I didn't know where it was going to go, and I just pressed down. So I wind up, there's no security because it's like 11 a.m. and the door is open, and I walk out and I'm in the locker room. And all of a sudden, I'm on ground level. So I just start walking the halls, and you see, Ric Flair, and I met Ric Flair. I met Jeff Jarrett. I'm meeting all these guys, Haku, and it was unbelievable. It was just a surreal moment. Then Doug Dillinger comes around, and he's like, "Who are you with?" And I didn't know what to say. I was like, "Well, I'm with security." And he's like, "Well, you're with WCW security, or are you with Providence security?" And I was like, "Oh man, I had nothing planned." So I'm just like, Providence security." And he's like, "Okay." So then he gets on the walkie-talkie. He turns his back to me. He's talking to another guy, and he's calling to see, if I'm legit supposed to be there. While that's happening, I bounce. I'm out of there. I go right onto the elevator. The door is closing, and a hand comes through the door, and I thought it was going to be Doug Dillinger, and I had, the gig was up, but instead, the door opens, and it's Kurt Hennig. And Mr. Perfect walks into the elevator with Screaming Norman Smiley, Brian Knobs of the Nasty Boys, and Fit Finley. They
Wow.
all get on the elevator with me, and we go up, and Kurt Hennig puts his arm around me, and he says, "You wrestling me tonight, kid?" And I said, "No, no, no, no." And they all start laughing, and Kurt shook my hand, and that was the only time I ever met Kurt. I didn't get an autograph or a picture or anything like that, but that
Great
experience
memory. Yeah.
was just unbelievable.
So you were at these two shows. I'm gonna surprise you with this one. This was one of my favorite guys. I wish I had a signed promo of him, but you could see him in the photo signing promos. It's Captain Lou Albano.
Oh, yeah.
I do
Yeah.
have one of the pictures he signed, but it's not a promo. It's like a copy. And then this is another one. He would talk and talk and share some great stories, and I'm just like, I love Captain Lou. He was great. He was
That was
great.
Legends of the Ring, right?
Legends of the Ring, and the other one. This one is from Fan Slam, Tommy Fierro's show, WrestleMania 20 weekend.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yep, I've
I
got that
remember seeing
DVD.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember seeing him in the parking lot. It was at the Holiday Inn in Ottawa, New Jersey, and he was walking very gingerly and slow. And I was pulling in behind him, like I just saw a body behind me. He turned around, he's like, "Ah, ah, ah," like he's just going crazy. He's like, "You watch me, you're gonna hit me. What do you think you're doing here?" And I'm just like, "Captain Lou, I'm bad." And I'm like, "I'm so sorry," and I'm far away from him. But then like he was doing all that because there was like a crowd, like I think he was playing to like 3 4 people
Yeah.
in the lobby. I didn't know that till I got in there. He goes, "Oh, I was just messing." When I went in there, he goes, "I was just messing with you, kid." And I was like, "Oh, okay. I really thought I was near you. I was gonna hit you." He goes, "No, no, 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 no." He goes, "We got to work him a little bit." I
Yeah.
started laughing.
Yeah.
I said, "Here he's always on. It's like Captain. Even there's 3 people and he's still working. He's retired. He's still working." That's
Right.
what's fascinating about guys like Lou Albano, Fred Blassie, Bobby Heenan. I heard stories of Bobby Heenan ripping up kids' autograph. He would sign it and then rip it. He would go instead of just signing it and going away. Heenan would sign the autograph and tear it in front of him
Oh, man.
just to be that heel. He for an audience of one. You know what I mean? It was
Right.
just phenomenal. This is another favorite autograph of mine. It's not a promo, but when I done the interview with King Kong Bundy, the shoot interview 2010, it was a long drive back, and I said, "Oh, can you sign this magazine for me?" He signs it, and he was always teasing me because he liked my wife a lot. And at the time, like he goes, so he writes here to Liz and Andy. Liz should be with me.
Oh,
I
it's
thought that
awesome.
was funny. Yeah, that's like the first autograph that was like addressed to her, and it wasn't even intentionally because she's not a fan, but
Yeah.
she knows how much I love it, and she puts up. But she comes to shows, and she even did the face paint for Marty for Boogeyman, and Boogeyman loves her. He's like, "Hey, how's my girl Liz doing?" I'm like, "She's great." And some of these guys, when they meet her, when I book these guys for some of these shows, or I'll meet up with them to eat sushi or hang out with them, they like the fact that she's not a fan and she's just blunt with them. She'll even say like, "Oh, what time you want me to put your makeup on?" She's like, "It ain't makeup, Liz. It's face paint."
Yeah, yeah,
or like
that's
or
classic.
like I'm bringing him to a show, like I'm just driving him there, and they're like, oh, like, oh yeah, they're gonna give me like X amount, let's say. He goes, oh, why aren't they giving you more? Look how long the line is. And she's instigating. I'm like, Liz, chill out. And then he goes, yeah, yeah, get him, Liz, like you're gonna be my agent, get him, Liz. Like, they like that, because like there was another funny story that when Iron Sheik gave her such a headache at Legends, like Honky Tonk Man and Bill Apter, everybody's riling him up. I have the video of this. I could send it to you. He's the next table right next to us. Eric Sims has Iron Sheik right next to us, and he's yelling and screaming about Hulk Hogan, Hollywood Blonde Jabroni, this and that, Brian Blair, everything. And she's like, my head is killing me. I had to take her to the hospital 2 days later. She got a spinal tap to release the pressure. Her head was exploding from
Oh, wow.
Iron Sheik yelling so loud. It was like destroying her. And I remember the funny part that day was he asked her next to he goes, honey, can you get the legend? He goes like this, can you get the legend an apple? She gets him an apple. And she brings a knife with the apple so he could cut the knife. So then I think it was Eric, or I think it was he passed away, this agent. He's funny. He used to have a Macho Man license plate. Scott
Epstein?
Epstein, yes. Rest in peace, Scott Epstein. He was great. I love Scott. So he's very blunt. He's one of those OG guys like Eric Sims and you, Andy, all these guys. You know him as well. Scott Epstein says to her, he goes, sweetheart. He leans over. He goes, do you think it's wise to get this guy a knife? I just thought it was so fun. She's like, I didn't know. I thought I was doing a favor so you could cut the apple.
Right.
But she would come with me to these road trips, and I would just be like, I'm sorry, she's like, it's okay. I actually had a good time. These guys are not so bad. They're different than on TV, and you got to know that she got to know a lot of them personally. And
Yeah,
sometimes like they'll even ask about her and she's not even there. They're like, oh, how's your wife doing? I'm just like, oh my God, they're asking about her and not even like, and she's not even a fan. But that brings the point. Sometimes, they appreciate it that, they are not fans, I guess, in a way. So
right.
I just
So
thought
you
I'd
mentioned
share
all
that.
these conventions, Legends of the Ring, Fan Slam. Do you remember your very first convention and where was that at, if you do remember?
The first convention I ever went to was Fan Slam 2004. It was the day before WrestleMania 20, and it was a tribute to the WrestleMania 1 card.
Yep.
And I got the VIP. I was like one of the first ones in the line. And Tommy was so cool. It was the first time I met Tommy Fierro. Um, that they had a morning and an afternoon Q&A as well following the signing. So I got to hear all these stories: Lou Albano and Bobby Heenan, SD Jones, King Kong Bundy, Buddy Rose, Jimmy Hart. I'm trying to remember everybody that was on that first panel, and Greg Valentine. Then the second one in the afternoon was, and a lot of people didn't show up to that one, but people didn't have patience to wait all day. But I went to that one, and they were like, oh, I was sitting behind, and there was, the front didn't have a lot of, so they're like, you want to sit closer, go ahead, you could ask questions. And Bill Apter was the MC. He's with the microphone getting questions from fans, and their high spots was there recording it. So I'm sitting in the front, and like I didn't have any. I think I had a question for the first panel. I was asking something about uh, it was Captain Lou, I believe it was, and he went into a whole thing about Danny DeVito. If anybody has the Fan Slam DVD from 2003, it's a great Q&A from a lot of guys. They're not even here no more. It's like a shoot interview on steroids. It really is. It's a great. And then the second panel, that was a great one. It had David San Martino. It had uh, Fabulous Moolah, Leilani Kai. It had Brutus Beefcake, Bob Orton, and I'm trying to remember who else. Iron Sheik, Paul Orndorff. It was great. That whole weekend, that day, it was like a whole weekend jammed into one day. I
Hmm.
got so many things signed. I took pictures. I had all these. This is how your photo ops looked back then. For anybody that was around in that time, I know we got a lot of new kids on the block now these days. But this is how we got our photos before MySpace and Facebook. We would get them on these, and we would put them in our albums. And I found some other ones when I was digging through stuff like Sensational Sherry Polaroid and other ones as well. Just going back and just looking at how I used to look and how meeting all these guys. As soon as I see the picture, I remember what room it was in, where I was. Like everything just comes back to me, and it's just
Yeah.
That was my first convention, and then later that year they had a snowstorm, and it was on my birthday, December 6th. He had David. This was Fan Slam. Tommy Fierro. He had David Schultz, Missing Link. He had Ted DiBiase and Virgil. He had Gary Michael Capetta, and there was a lot of people that didn't show up. So I mean, we had more time with these stars at this convention, and I was just like, wow, is every convention like this? This is phenomenal. And then like I'm seeing all the pictures from your conventions later, and I'm just like, wow, I wish I have got to go to some of these things. If I had a car, if I was like, able to drive at that point. I remember going back and looking at your early New England conventions that you put on. I was just like,
Oh,
I
nice.
wish I could have gone to some of those things when I saw the lineup of them. So
Yeah.
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's funny you take it for granted because you figure, oh, they're going to be around forever, and they're larger
Hmm.
than life characters, and you see them at a few shows, maybe you skip them, I'll get them next time, and then you don't have that opportunity again. So I definitely encourage fans, get them when you see them because you don't know if you're going to see them at the next show.
That happens a lot. That happens a lot, and so many times, like with it happened with Umaga. I remember Nelson Frazier, who's Big Daddy V. Everybody knows Mabel Viscera. He introduced me to Umaga, and Umaga, what I think he just, uh, I think he was still with WWE or he was about to leave. I don't remember, but I remember him setting up a shoot interview for Umaga and myself, and we were just talking about how much it would be. And I remember when he called me that morning and he was crying, Nelson. And he goes, Umaga died, man. And I was like, what? And he goes, Umaga died. And we're talking for 2 hours. And I didn't even ask him about the $200 deposit. I knew I wasn't even going to ask. I didn't want to get him mad or. But I remember putting a deposit down for that interview to do with Umaga. And I remember like getting the pictures printed that he was going to sign. And I had original promos. Like I had like 5 or 6 original promos of 3 Minute Warning and solo of Umaga, just him. And then he died. Just happened with Test. He was another guy. I remember our last conversation wasn't a good one. I wish it was. Like we were arguing about how much, and he got offended. He goes, "Oh, he wanted a little bit more," and I was trying to negotiate. And the time I wasted just for a couple hundred more, I could have just given it to him. And I had the questions. I could have done the interview, and we would have had a
Yeah.
test shoot interview out there. So it's not just missed opportunities for fans; it's opportunities for like even the interviews, not just the autograph signings, but it's like when you put on your show, when other guy Tommy puts on his shows, different parts of the country, it's like if there's a show, go to it. Don't expect that next time. Oh, they'll be back. Oh, we took Iron Sheik for granted. He passed away. Now everybody wants Iron Sheik stuff. I got
Yeah.
promos that I was like, wow, and I saw him so many times. He became like an uncle in a way. He would see me, put his arm around me. Hey, Bubba, how are you? And I would be like, no, I don't need anything. So Eric would even tell me, you need anything signed? He'll sign him for you. This and that. And I remember not even having anything. I'm like, no, I wasn't prepared. I was just going to do a quick interview with him, and that was it. But going back and I'm thinking, wow, I could have gotten more stuff signed. I could have done this. I could have done that. But you can't live with regret. It happens. And it just
Yeah.
what you just said is exactly. Uh, you hit the nail on the head there, Joe. Like if you have a signing, you go to it. If there,
Yeah.
don't take it for granted. Oh, I'll see them next time. They'll be at that WrestleCon, WrestleMania weekend next year. You don't know about tomorrow, and there's nothing guaranteed.
Right. Now let's talk about promo photos, specifically
Mhm.
the different types of promos. Obviously 8.25 by 11. Those are primarily color promo photos. Of course, the 8x10s come in both color and black and white.
Mhm.
When they're black and white, they're usually glossy, and then when they're color, they're going to be in cardstock for the most part. So all different varieties of promos out there for fans that don't collect them yet or are looking to collect them. Do you have a favorite? Do you prefer black and white? Do you prefer color? And what sizing do you like?
I mean, they're mixed. The Andre one is the 8.5 by 11, and it's not a piece style promo. I mean, as long as for me, I like to have the original promo. Like this one is one of my favorites, and it's not like I cut it. This is like blasphemy to cut this now. Like you know what I mean? Like this was originally an 8.5 by 11, and I think they cut it down to fit an 8 by 10.
Mm.
And I actually have the stub from the signing, and
Oh,
there's a
wow.
photo of the gentleman that had it signed. You could see him with it. He got that signed. And this is Savage and Liz. This was on November 17, 1991. So this is one of my favorites because I've been looking for another Randy not just an autograph, and I was luckily to find the promo signed by him and Liz. And then you got this one. This is the this is one of my other favorites. It was originally signed by Paul Bearer, and what's funny is Brian Kelly was with. I think Brian Kelly stood in the line for me and helped me get this signed because there was like a big line, and I just wanted to get the photo with Undertaker, but it was a different line, different time of the day.
Oh.
So he got this one signed for me, and then Taker actually loved the fact that the tickets, the stub for it from Fitterman says 666 on it.
Oh yeah.
But
Wow.
it's just a funny thing. But when he signed this, Taker had a blue marker in his hand, and I respect the fact that he really took pride in to get this signed because Paul Bear already had signed this before Taker signed it,
Right.
and Taker was like, he goes, "Oh wait, hold on. Did somebody have a silver Sharpie?" He had somebody. They didn't even have a silver one. They had every other color except silver. But Taker's the one that said, "I want to sign in silver." He didn't just rush and sign it. So that was pretty cool because he
Wow.
saw this one and he wanted to know like, oh, when was it signed? Oh, when did Paul sign it? Like, and then JSA actually authenticated not just the Taker, but they did authenticate the Paul Bearer as well. Um, this is a peace style promo. I like this one. This is the Evil Crush. This one is signed. I
Nice.
like
One of
this
my
one.
all-time favorites.
Yeah. This is another one. The Brian Pillman. It says it's personalized to Gloria, but I mean, to find even any Brian Pillman autograph, let alone an actual P promo, this is one of my favorites of him. And then this one I actually got from you. You got this mailed, and it's one of my favorites just because of the long inscription. This is
Oh
the
yeah.
one my wife wanted to kill me. I spent an arm and a leg.
Yeah,
But this is one
that
of
is
my favorites. Well, I wanted to
that's
ask
a
you now. I'm
beautiful art.
gonna switch it on you now. Did you tell him how to sign it like this? Because I mean, this is like a promo on a promo.
I gave him the entire script. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I asked if he could sign that in the exact way.
Well,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yep.
I have this one as well. This was from a virtual signing with X Pac, and he writes, You better not stop short, or Eric Bischoff will go so far up your. He'll know what you had for breakfast." From the promo when he entered WWF the night after WrestleMania 14, the
Oh
infamous
yes.
promo. So that was cool. And then
Classic.
this one is another one of my favorites. This is an early P7-1. I actually had two of them. Slaughter's like, I don't even have one of these, so I gave one to Sarge himself. And for this one, I didn't even tell him what to write. I just told him write whatever you want, like surprise me. So he's sitting there with his agent Paul, and he's signing this. He goes, at first I couldn't even read it. So I said, "What is this?" So then his manager said, he goes, he's writing, "Enjoyed working with you and the shoot interview," and then he signed it.
Wow.
And this is the original promo. So this is one of my other favorites. This one, there's a funny story behind it because Greg Valentine lost his cell phone. I was the first one in line, but the promoter put me in line for. I think it was at Tommy show. Tommy put me first because he said, "You have a couple promos, get it out of the way so you could, get your other stuff done." So I actually got this promo from Tito Santana. Tito had a bunch of promos. He goes, "Andrew," he goes, "You know about promos. I seen you post on Facebook." He goes, "You like any of these? You know what you could give me for these?" Tito didn't know. I could have. Poor Tito. I would never do that to him. But he's trying to give me these promos for $10. I said, "Tito, these are worth a lot more. Why don't I give you?" He goes, "Let me see what you got here." He had guys from Andre, unsigned ones from guys that are deceased, but he had some in there that were Jake the Snake, Coco Beware, this Greg Valentine one. And I remember I think I gave him like $500, and he goes, "Oh, that's more than." I said, "No, no, no, it's fine, it's fair because I know what these are gonna go for, and I don't want to do that to you." So I just remember, and then he was nice enough to walk me over to Coco Beware, Jake the Snake, and I didn't even pay for those autographs. Tito, he said, "Hey,
Oh yeah.
take care," because I
Return
took
the
care.
favor.
I didn't even, and I didn't expect it. So I always love Tito. Tito lives close by me. I've been to he's such a great guy. He's in the book as well. I do a whole chapter on him called The Tito Life that Shawn Michaels talks about. When he inducted him into the Hall of Fame
Yeah.
in 2004. And Tito wasn't at that show. He was advertised that the day before and he lives in Jersey. So everybody's like, "Where's Tito? What happened?" But I think he was because he was getting ready for his speech that night in the Hall of Fame, and I think he had to go to Manhattan earlier, wherever the Hall of Fame was. So he didn't make it to that show. But I remember this is my other favorite is Greg Valentine. Greg Valentine had lost his phone and he was going crazy looking for it. And I said, "Hey, Greg, it's right there." So he finds the cell phone. He goes, "Oh," I said, "All right, let's go." So I remember Greg Valentine go. I remind him. I go, "You remember when we were at this show? It was at an ECPW show for Gino Caruso. I was doing ring announcing and commentary for Gino, and Greg Valentine is good friends with Gino. So he was at the show, and I remember he was upset about something, and he goes, it's time to drop the hammer down on these scumbags." So I started laughing. And I said later, I said, "You remember when he said it's time to drop the hammer on these scumbags? Could you write something like that?" So he writes to Andrew, "Let's drop the hammer down on these scumbags."
That's
And it came
beautiful.
out beautifully. He came out beautifully. I was gonna have him sign it in gold. He goes, "No, no, no, we're gonna have it signed." He had the white Poshka pen. Greg is smart. He knew what to do.
Yeah.
So this was one of my, and then this one I got from you from the Mark Eaton sale. I
Oh
still
yeah.
didn't remove the mark. This is the probably one of the most expensive ones, but I never had a Dynamite Kid with Davey autograph, and it's a
Mm,
promo, and it's signed by both of them. So I just like wouldn't have been nice to
that's
have a little
amazing.
Albano on this thing, but
Oh, imagine that.
but this is the letter as well. I mean, it's overkill, but it's already we know what it's good. This one I showed it to his daughter, and she loved it. She put it on her page. It's the Bad News Brown original promo
Okay.
signed. So this one is actually one of my, and I remember Bad News coming to a lot of these conventions, and it goes to what you just said before, Joe. You never know what happens. I remember Bad News Brown, and this was in Carteret, New Jersey, for KNS. I think it was a KNS show. It was like a small show. I think eight talent were there. He's sitting by himself at the table. Nobody's coming up to his table. They're Bad News Brown. Stack of
Wow.
pictures. Some of them were his own promos. He brought some of his own promos at the show, was selling them for $5 each and getting them signed. I remember because there was another promo collector. His name was John. I don't know if you know him from New Jersey. He doesn't have Facebook, but he goes to all the shows, and he'll bring his whole photo album. He's very methodical. He'll pull one out each by one by one, have the town sign it, and put it right back in, close it. He knows exactly where in the binder it is.
Wow.
This one is another special one. This one, Ravishing Rick Rude,
Yeah.
original promo signed, and that's with the letter as well. This one I got from Kyle Yates. He's a big, you know him. He's a big Hasbro collector
Yeah.
guy.
Yeah. Yep.
So I traded in mixed cash and Hasbro's. I gave up a lot to get this one. That was a cool. So there's a few
Well
other
worth it.
ones here. Yeah, this is another one that I got from you. This is the Hardy's one.
Oh
The
yes.
original makes it more special. It's the original promo, and it's double certified by
Right.
Beckett and PSA. But I mean, they just both sign very well, and I love the fact that it has the belts. I collect the belt promos.
Yeah.
This one I know you have Vince Russo. If you still have this promo, I urge anybody to just buy it because it took me a while to get this promo. And then I see you posting 8 available for sale. I said, really, really, this is what I'm thinking in my head. Really, Joe, you're gonna post it now after I've been looking forever finding this. I paid more for this promo than what you had it listed for. So I mean, $200 is a steal if you're selling them for $200. If I needed it signed, I know he's coming to your show. I would have bought it in a heartbeat. But this one I actually mailed to Vince Russo, and he signed it. You don't need creative control to be creative, bro. Keep writing and remember to pray for Jim Cornette, your friend Vince Russo.
Oh man.
I love that one. It's one of my favorites. And I'm not even a big WCW promo collector, but I mean, he didn't even have a promo in WWF, I believe. Would have been cool if he
No.
did, but this is the
Yeah.
promo from WCW. And then I
Well,
got 3 more here. This is Louis Spicoli.
oh yes.
This was signed to the School of Hard Knocks. Thank you for making me take a lot of those bumps. They paid off. Your pal. See, I like stuff like this because not only it's legit, but it's signed to somebody in particular, and it has that memory behind it. It has that story behind it.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best promos are the ones that have the story behind it, even if it's personalized. And then this is another one. Dr. D. David Schultz. Captain's Corner. Nick, my buddy Nick got this signed for me. He wrote, "What's wrong with you, Andrew? You belong in San Francisco. That's your kind of place." You remember that promo where he talks about
I
Hogan?
do.
You
Yes.
belong in San Francisco. That's your kind. Well, this he
That's
signed
great.
that, and Schultz doesn't like to do inscriptions. You saw like when at your show, like we tried to, but I love David.
Yeah.
He's
He doesn't
great.
like to do much of anything.
It's not easy, but I understand his position because it's a busy afternoon. You got so many things happening, but I was able to get this because he was laughing already about it, and he said, "Oh, this next promo signed is from my buddy Andrew," and he goes, "Oh, where is this from? What year is this?" So he probably didn't see this promo for a while, and then he wrote, "What do you want me to write on this?" So I didn't even have it planned. So I'm writing in the chat, "Oh, just do that promo from San Francisco,"
Yeah.
and he knew right away. And he wrote, "What's wrong with you, Andrew? You belong in San Francisco. That's your kind of place." And
That's great.
everybody's popping in the chat. Everybody's laughing. They're like, "Bro." And when he showed the promo, I wasn't in the live one, but people were screenshotting and sending to me. He goes, "Bro, Schultz signed this awesome promo for you." And I was like, "Oh man, I can't wait when it comes in the mail." When it came in the mail, I said, "Wow, this is sick." And then this
That's
is the one I got from Mike Ford. I got this from Mike Ford before Orndorff passed away. This is Orndorff's signed promo. I believe Mike got this signed himself.
hmm.
And then an honorable mention, Frank Sinatra was big in our household. He's not a wrestling thing, but this is a Frank Sinatra, to me, signed promo.
Wow.
Yeah.
When did you meet
I didn't
him?
get it myself signed. I never met him. This was
Oh,
somebody else named Andy that you and I both know,
ah,
Mr. Andy Varn. So
Varga.
this is from Big Andy.
Yeah.
This is a Big Andy Frank Sinatra piece. And just I miss Big Andy. I'll
Big
tell you
Andy.
a great story about him if you like, if you have time.
Sure.
Big Big Andy, I love Big Andy. I don't want to. He just was so nice. He was one of those guys. Like I got my first promos. I got the rookie Undertaker promo from him. I got a couple other things from him where he was selling an Andre signed promo at his table. I remember it like yesterday for $500. And I was about to buy it, and somebody was he said, "No, I already sold it to this guy," and I was like, "I'll pay you more for it right now. I'll give you more for this. 500 is nothing." He goes, "Oh well, I want to keep my word." That was a big thing with Andy, keeping his word.
Yeah.
So even though he knew I could have offered him more, and I was willing to just give him more, just be like, just tell the guy, forget it, give it to me, because I wanted it so bad. It was the
Sure.
Andre promo. It was the Andre promo where he's standing in black and white. It's from 1989.
Oh, yeah. He's up on the apron.
He's up on the apron, and it has the full signature, Andre the Giant.
Wow.
And I was like, this is crazy. The promo was beat up. The corners had holes in it, but I remember the guy came back to get it. But I remember being so upset, and I remember going through all the other promos before this guy had a chance to. And I started like, I'll get this, I'll get this, I'll get this, I'll get this. I started taking them all. And when the guy was like, "Oh, I wanted these," Big Andy's like, "Listen, I gave you the Andre. He was first on these, so he's gonna get these." So I remember taking that, and then I bought so much off him. He gave me his address, and I was like, "Yeah, I live in Jersey. I can meet you." So I went to his house. I sat on his front. He took everything out of his house. I never went in his house, but I don't know if you ever been there. He has his front porch, and he had crates, Joe, of promos, programs, all kinds of miscellaneous stuff. Some stuff from hockey, boxing, Sports Illustrated. He had Elvis Presley. He had all kinds of miscellaneous collectible stuff.
Hmm.
And I remember just buying a lot of my collection, that stuff that I bought was from Big Andy. And I remember just sitting with him on the porch, and I'm waiting for my dad to come pick me up because there was no parking around his house. And I remember telling my dad, like, "Yeah, just come pick me up in an hour, only be an hour." So I called my dad back. I go, "Listen, I'm gonna need more than an hour. He's got a lot of stuff. I'm gonna take my time if you don't mind." He's like, "All right, I'm gonna eat dinner. Just you call me later. I'll pick you up at night." So I had my father pick me up later at night. I remember I was only like 17, 18 at the time. This was more than 20 years. This
Yeah.
was like when conventions wasn't really a thing, but Big Andy was one of those guys. He's one of the first guys.
Yeah.
And he used to set up. He would sit down. He'd have his stuff just spread out on the table. He didn't have prices, and he wasn't organized. He just put everything on the table, and everybody just went through, picked up, look, oh, how much for this, how much for this, and the rest is history. But I just remember, and I didn't realize that would be the last time I seen Big Andy, because I remember him. I had his number, and I called him a few times years later, and I didn't know, like, and then I think somebody said we should honor Big. I think at Legends, somebody on the MC mentioned him. I think his name was Joe something from NWA. Joe Pala, something with a P. I forgot his last name. I apologize. His name was Joe, and sometimes they do announcements at Legends of the Ring.
Hmm.
So they'll say, "Oh, don't forget to join our table at blah blah blah," and at 1 o'clock, so and so will be sitting here. So he goes, "Oh, if everybody could just have a moment of silence for Big Andy's," I was like, "What? What do you? He died?" And that's when I found out. This was before, like, we had everything at our fingertips, Facebook, and we'll know somebody passed away. Somebody will, but I remember when that happened, I was just like, oh man, no wonder I kept calling him, and I was like, did he change his number? Something happened. But I just remember him being a really good guy, very soft with his words. He knew his stuff, and he gave hell of a deals. You've seen it. He was more about the love of the hobby. And I wish, like, people like that were such a dying breed. I wish guys like that we're still around. We have guys like that, but we're like the new generation. But guys like him from that era, we don't
Yeah.
have these guys anymore. It's just every time I look at these promos, I think of Big Andy a lot, because a lot of these promos were from Big Andy. So
Big Andy Varga, Clifton, New Jersey.
that's right.
Clifton, New Jersey. Yep. Yeah, he
It's
would
10
send
minutes.
me a what's that?
No, it was 10 minutes from I used to go to the Giants game. It was 10, 15 minutes from where I lived in Jersey City. And I
Hmm.
remember telling my dad, yeah, just pick me up in 1 hour. So my dad's like, all right, then I'm not going to drive back home. I'll just go to the Dunkin' Donuts. I'll sit. You just call me when you're done. Because my dad didn't want to sit for that. He was like, oh, just call me when you're done. And then
Yeah.
when I called him and told him, and I told my father, I'm going to be here a little longer. This guy's a lot of stuff. He goes, all right, just take your time. See if you have good stuff. And I remember not having enough money. I go, I don't think I have enough to buy all this stuff. He's like, just make a deal with him. I will just don't worry. I'll talk to him. So I remember my dad coming back when he picked me up, and he goes, so how much for all this stuff? He goes, I already discounted him everything, sir. There was like two old guys, bargaining. And I'm like, Dad, just please he's really giving me a good deal on these. Just help him. Signed a lot of the stuff during the pandemic that I sold, the Owen Hart and Bulldog dual promo, LOD, so many stuff that I got from him that weren't even authenticated. I took a chance on it, and then I got it authenticated. Not one of his stuff failed. All of it
Wow.
were legit. Some of them were personalized. I still have something I bought for $5. It wasn't anything worth it, but it was like a wooden thing that Big Andy cut out and did himself. Like, he carved, and it's like a WWF. It's like a little thing you hang on the wall, and it's like in wooden. It's like, and it has the logo of the old WWF in
Yep.
wood. And I'm gonna I'll send you a picture of that. I bought it from for $5 at a street fair. He was at a street fair, and I saw him by chance. We were there for buying socks and other kinds of whatever, and he happened to be there. And I hear him go, "Hey, stranger!" And I was like, "Oh my God, big!" Like, and I bought that from him. And I think, and after that, and when we went to his house. That was the last time that I saw him. And I still, for whatever reason, I never sold that WWF wooden logo. I always made sure to keep that. And I
Wow.
always told him, I told him about it when I went to his house. He goes, "You still kept it? You didn't sell it?" I go, "No." You see now, Big Andy, when he like leaned forward to talk to you, and he would try to whisper as if, even though you're the only guys there, it's like he's trying to tell you a secret. He'd be like, "Hey, did you do that? Did you?" It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like nobody could hear us. It's like, but he was so personable. I just miss Big Andy. He was one of those guys, like, that I learned a lot from.
Yeah.
Definitely learned a lot from him.
Yeah. Big Andy Varga. First time I ever met him was at the Boston Wrestling Convention in 2004, and it was at the Suffolk Downs racetrack in Revere, Massachusetts. It was my very first convention. And so I was so excited just to be there. It was a small convention, and you had Iron Sheik, you had Greg the Hammer Valentine, you had Leaping Lenny Poffo, you had Ox Baker, you had the Duke of Dorchester, Pete Doherty.
Hmm.
Um, and then they had a few other people kind of on like the next level up, the next tier. So you had a Polish Power, Ivan Putski. You had
Yeah.
Gold Dust, you had Road Warrior Animal, you had Mick Foley, and maybe two or three others. So it wasn't a huge thing. And Big Andy was one of the few vendors. There were probably five vendors, very small room. And Andy had Iron Sheik's ring worn boots there for sale. He had Public Enemy's ring worn jerseys there for sale. He had all kinds of stuff. And he ended up selling me that AWA collage that is my prized possession to this day. Now, I went ahead all these, over 20 years and added all the autographs to it, but I bought the photo itself from him because that was his event. He ran that AWA convention. And,
Yeah.
I just thought it was such a cool piece. And I remember I bought it for $25, and it already had Kurt Henning's autograph on it. And, Kurt was one of his guests at that fan fest. And since then I've added, I think, 25 superstars to that.
Where do
And
you think I
actually,
originally got this from? This was from
oh
Big
yeah.
Andy.
Yep.
This was from him. Yeah.
Very nice.
And he said
Yes.
I still have the Big John stud, and he writes to Big Andy. There were a few promos I still have that says to Big Andy. There was I'm trying to remember who it was. John Studd. There was he told me he had an Adrian Adonis one where there's a promo with him and Jimmy Hart. I go, where is it? He goes, oh, I sold it. And he told me about the ring worn stuff he said he had a bunch of ring worn stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, where did it all go? It's like, oh man,
Yeah. Yeah.
he had so much great stuff.
He sold me 3 ring-worn pairs of glasses of the Grand Wizard. So I had
Wow.
3 of them, and then he wanted one of them back so bad. He's like, "Can I actually get one of those back from you?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine, Andy." So I ended up having 2 for a few years, and then, when I sold my original collection in 2011, the glasses went with it, and I'm like, "Oh, man, I should never have gotten rid of those." But very cool pieces and good memories from Andy Varga. I would receive every 2 weeks, like clockwork, I would receive a postcard or a letter from Andy in the mail, and it would have a full list. Hey, Joe, you're my number one customer. He would always say, whatever you want, you got first dibs. And he would give me a full list. This just came in, or, I just got this stuff signed. And they would range from $5 to $35. $50 was rare,
Yeah.
but he had some $50 items, and his deals were unbelievable, and I would buy up almost his entire list every 2 weeks, and that's
Yeah.
why he would get so excited. And then he'd call me on the phone, Joe, Big Andy, he would he would sound like that, and I always looked forward to his phone conversations. And he was finally going to be a vendor at my fan fest. I was so excited, and it was kind of coming full circle. And then unfortunately he told me that he had gotten ill, and he didn't think he'd be able to make my fan fest. And just a few weeks later, I found out that he had passed away, and I was like, man, I was so excited that Andy was going to be at my show because, I was just so fond of him. And, but it was so great to know Andy, and he was great for the wrestling business. And it's good that, we kind of bring him up and remember him because, he was very important to the wrestling world for sure.
Oh yeah, I agree.
So real quick, let's touch on your shoot interviews. You mentioned it earlier, but who were some of the guys real quick? Just give us a quick list of who you've done shoot interviews with over the years.
Well, the first one was Nelson Frazier, Big Daddy V. Then I did Nikolai Volkov. This was all in 2009, back to back, month by month. It started with Nelson, then Nikolai, Slaughter. He's just gotten released by WWE, and that was massive. He never did a shoot interview before. I sold a lot of copies of those. It was a 2-disc, 4-hour shoot. I still have. Then the next one was the Bruno Sammartino one. That's never been released. The Iron Sheik one I did, that was never released. And it's funny, they talk about some of the same stories, and I merged those stories, the unreleased shoots, and it's not because of any controversy. I just never released them. I didn't know how to convert them. I still have the master raw footage of both of those shoots, but in my book that's going to come out, The Urban Legends of Pro Wrestling, I talk about in one chapter going to dinner with Bruno and my dad, and there's pictures of it as well. There's also the Iron Sheik as well. There's pictures of that, like from 2 months apart. And there's some good stories from both of them, what they talk about, and Sheik just loved Bruno, 100%. And Bruno talked, so it's so funny that they're both polar opposites, but they have so much love for each other, and how common they were. And I thought it was a fascinating to bridge their stories together in that chapter. And I did a lot of extra research and went into great detail on that. But the other shoots that I did was also Zeus, Tiny Lister, and that was released as well. And then the biggest one, the bestseller one, my favorite, was the King Kong Bundy. I
Mm.
think I sold more copies of his shoot than all the other shoots combined. I had to reorder that shoot several times. High Spots and Aura Video, even till now, still order some copies, and I have to go back and look and, like, let me see if I still have some.
Yep.
But that Bundy shoot was just what I remember, sitting there as I'm interviewing him, and I'm like, "This is good. This is real good." I'm
That's awesome.
feeling his energy. I'm getting goosebumps right now talking about it. I remember sitting there so close to him in an empty arena. We used the Mike Morgan in New Jersey, independent promoter. It was, his company was called ACE, American Championship Entertainment, and he let us it was in Union City. It was close to where I lived, and he let me use this empty arena, so because I wanted a cool backdrop, like a dark empty arena. And Bundy just, I'm asking him, it's not even in the questions, I didn't have, it's not like I told him to bury guys. I was like, oh, well, let's talk about WrestleMania 2. And he's like, I'd rather run some more people down. We haven't touched the Randy Savage yet. I can't stand this guy and that guy. And then he starts talking about Gorilla Monsoon, and it wasn't even in my list, but he was just, and then he would sit there and he's quiet and he's like, this is just so cathartic to get this all out. He goes, I should be paying you. And I remember my father coming late at the end of the interview, and he was like, you should give this guy a little bit extra. He's giving you good stuff here. So my father gave me a little, he goes, here, give him an extra, you know. So I gave him a little bit of extra because my dad goes, you're going to sell a lot. I go, well, we don't know yet. Why don't we wait till my dad goes, listen to me. You will sell a lot of this. I just listened to the last 25 minutes of this interview. This guy is going to help you sell a lot. And this was right before I got married. His DVD, and I always thank him for this, and I told him later, which is why he was like, where's my 10% royalty at? He'd always joke about it. And like, he goes, it's time to do shoot number 2, like, this and that. And he was just like, he never wrote a book. He basically poured his heart out on that 4-hour interview. He gave so many great stories, and everything that happened in his career, and his regret not going to WCW. And that was one of my favorites, not because he buried people, but he wore his heart on his sleeve. And if you know Chris, you know him well. He beats to his own drum. He's not a follower. He he knows what. And actually, what's crazy is we were going to do a podcast, and I had the whole layout. I still have the emails where we went back and forth. He actually passed away a few 4 or 5 months after my father passed away. He called my dad when my dad was sick with cancer, and he spoke to him. He goes, let me talk to, he called, my dad's name was Fayez, but he would call him Fayaz. He's like, let me talk to my boy Fayaz. So I put my dad on the phone, and he goes, my dad would call him Bundy. He goes, yeah, Bundy. Instead of calling, he goes, yeah, Bundy, how are you? And they're talking for 45 minutes, not even about wrestling. He's just like, how are you feeling? How are the ladies doing? Because my dad would show him pictures of, like, nice looking girls. He's like, oh, can you handle this one? He would keep swiping the pictures and show Bundy. He goes, where do you get all these pictures from? Like, he would show him pictures from parties and stuff he was at, and people like he knew. But it was just a funny repertoire between them. The same thing with Jim Neinhart. I want to get off, but like, he would tell Jim Neinhart, he goes, can I touch your beard? Like, I want to pull the beard. He goes, nobody touches the beard, but you could touch. So my dad pulled his beard, and I remember being so jealous. I'm like, you're so lucky. I told you I wanted to pull the beard. He goes, my Jim Neinhart goes, nobody touches the beard. This was during a private signing in his hotel.
Yeah.
And like, he let my dad pull his beard. My dad goes, no, he has a nice beard. I'm just like, and my dad was teasing me in the car that he got to pull his Jim Neinhart's beard. But Bundy spoke to my dad, like, he talked to my dad 2 weeks literally before my dad passed away. And then I remember at the time I said to him, like, listen, I want to get involved. Like, there's podcasts that are blowing up now. Nobody's doing DVDs anymore because he's asking me, how are the DVDs business, Andy? And I'm like, it's not that great. People are copying and ripping it and putting it on the internet. But I said, I have a great idea if you're interested. And Conrad Thompson said, if you could get him to agree, we could put him on our network. Because Conrad Thompson, friend of mine as well, he has a lot of podcasts, as you know. So he says, oh, if you get Bundy, maybe we'll do. So even the name of it was going to be called the 5 Count, because the 5 Count with
Yeah.
Bundy, and we even had. I remember making a list of like 52 lists, like having a list of 52 subjects to have a year's worth of. And at the end of every episode, he was going to touch on different topics, but and then at the end it would be Bundy on BS. So Bundy would call out things like he wanted to talk about politics, and because he also did comedy, he was going to talk about. So every week he was going to talk about something else that was current at the end of the topic. It was going to be a 45-minute, and he lived 3 hours from me. So I said we could actually meet up, do this in person. We had this whole thing planned out, and he was going to get all the merchandise for it. I didn't care about it. He could sell all his shirts on Pro Wrestling Tees, I believe. We were gonna get designs done, everything, and then suddenly he passed in March, I believe, of 2019. And
Wow.
I still have the email. I still have everything. And I remember him passing, and I was just like, and it was right after my dad. So I was just like, oh man, because I remember he was one of the only guys like that. He said, let me talk to your dad. Where's Fayaz at? Where's my boy Fay? So that's when I put him on the phone with him, and he was talking to him. And I remember leaving the room, going downstairs, getting something. He's still on the phone with Bundy for over an hour, just talking. I'm thinking he's just going to talk to my dad, and he's probably busy. He's going to say goodbye, and that's it. No, they're talking for over an hour. And after I hung up, I was like, "Oh, where were you guys?" He's talking for an hour. He goes, "Ah, he's just telling me, his foot is bothering him and he's not feeling well." And I didn't realize till later he wasn't feeling well because he was sick. But I don't think he told people this. He didn't really tell a lot of people this.
Yeah.
So, but that from all the shoot interviews, that one was my absolute favorite. The Slaughter one was a great one. I mean, all of them were great in their own right. I mean, Nikolai talks about Fred Blassie and him reconnecting Blassie with his daughter, who was estranged at the time. I didn't expect I was going to get a lot of good stories from Nikolai, not to be because Nikolai was a different guy. Like, he talked about fasting, he talked about all kinds of health. We went to Nikolai's house, and he had so many cats. My wife came with me for the drive. It was somewhere in Maryland. I remember he had his old vehicle. Like, I told Nikolai, I said, "Wow, you still have your old vehicle? You have a nice ranch here. You're doing great." He goes, "Listen, if Vince McMahon or these guys, they never called me again, it's okay. I'm not going to be like these guys. I need a pay, but it'll be nice if I go for a show, if somebody needs me, that's fine. But I'm not starving." And then he said something. Him and Lanny both said the same thing. He goes, "It's not what you make, it's what you save."
Hmm.
Nikolai, I remember Nikolai saying that. I think even on the shoot, he goes, I never made the kind of money or even probably could dream about what Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair and these guys made, but I sure saved the money I made. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Very cool. Another great memory to have, and just all of these memories are priceless, and that's what's the best part of about
Oh,
being a
yeah.
fan and being in the wrestling business. You get to hear all these things and see all these things up close and personal, and it all means a lot. It really does. Let's talk
Yeah.
about the Mount Rushmore, though. Can't let you go without talking about Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling. I'd like to hear your personal Mount Rushmore for singles competition, men, any era, and then the Mount Rushmore for singles women, any era.
4 or 5? How many
Four.
were listed? 4
Yeah.
of any era, and this could be not based on. It could be on talent. It could be on might and anything. Just coming to mind
Any way
all
that you
overall.
want to throw it together. It could be personal favorites, could be however you want to look at it.
Okay, Bret Hart, definitely. Bret Hart is up there. Steve Austin. Um, Mount Rushmore. Hulk Hogan, just for what he did for the business. So you can't not have a Mount Rushmore, no matter what people, you know, want to feel indifferent about him. Hulk Hogan was wrestling for so many years. So Hogan, Bret Hart, Steve Austin. Try not to leave anybody out, but I would say the fourth one probably it comes to mind. Ric Flair.
Hmm. That's a
Ric
good one.
Flair.
Good
Yeah.
lineup. And how about for the
For
women's side of that?
women, Sensational Sherry. That's the first one that comes to mind. Trish Stratus. I think she's great. I thought she transitioned so well from being just eye candy. And I remember standing in the line at WrestleCon in Dallas to tell her this. And she's actually born the same month as me. She's only like a week after me. And I remember her writing December babies are the best. And we had a long conversation. She even gave me her shirt. And her handler was like, oh, that's $20. She's like, no, I want to give it to him. She took her. I was the first one in line. She came in late with Lita. And she was so nice to everybody. And I actually got to have a hug with her. And I was joking with her. And I said, I told my wife I'm going to meet my crush today. She's like, oh, stop it. You hush you. You know, like she's so friendly. But I remember her telling her, I said, you went from being just eye candy to being a serious competitor and being taken seriously. And I don't think you realize what you contributed to the wrestling business. Like people want to remember her barking like a dog for Vince McMahon, but what about the 6 times she won the title? Like in a time when she was there when they transitioned from divas to the women's evolute, like how to be taken seriously. So I thought she's special, just because of that. So who would I mention? Trish, Sensational Sherry.
Yep.
Um, I think Molly Holly. I know that I think that Molly Holly and of all time, I want to give a good one, but what comes to mind is Charlotte.
Yeah.
It just if I'm just without thinking, Charlotte comes to mind.
Yeah.
I
She's
think
definitely on mine.
yeah, I think Charlotte fantastic. The appearance, the whole package, the entrance, the behind the stick, wrestling in the ring. She's great.
And I'm going to edit this part out, but I've got a few questions left before we end it. But your connection has been really spotty, so I just don't want you to drop
Oh,
out. So
okay.
I don't know if maybe if you go out and come back in, it'll fix it, or I'm not sure. But your audio and your picture has been a little off.
Really? What do you want me
Yeah.
to do? Just shut it off and come back on?
Yeah. Sometimes if you do that, it'll kind of just clean it up. I've seen that happen before.
Okay. Let me see. Okay.
All right. Can you hear me all right?
Did you hear static?
Yeah, it's very
Oh, yeah.
staticky.
Okay, how about now?
All right. You can hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll pick up right where we left off.
Okay.
So how about Mount Rushmore for tag teams? Who would your Mount Rushmore be for tag teams? Any era?
My favorite tag team of all time, and I said it when I interviewed them, Demolition, Axe and Smash. And I remember in the interview I'm being so upset. They're telling me to calm down because I never show favoritism, but I was like, how could you guys not be in the Hall of Fame? And now they're finally, when I saw the graphic that they were going to be Hall of Fame, I was right about to tear. I was like, finally, they're going to get their due. Finally. So Demolition, Axxess Smash, number one, hands down. Heart Foundation with Brett and Anvil. I mean, uh, number three, I would say the Steiners, the
Yep.
Steiner brothers. And number four, I know a lot of people are not going to think of this, but I'm even going to go outside the box here. The Eliminators, Perry
Oh, yeah.
Saturn and John Cronus. I thought their matches in ECW were phenomenal. And if you watch them live, like I took 2 trains and a bus to see them wrestle at some show in Queens, and they were wrestling. I think they were wrestling either Pitbulls or the Gangsters. I don't, but I just remember that match. Just the people were standing and like clapping. It went from this to everybody getting closer and closer and getting inching it, and it was just like you could feel it. Like you felt like you were part of it. That's why people say ECW fans are this or that, but you know what? If you actually went to the ECW shows, then you're gonna say, okay, now I understand why they're like that. Now I get it because when you experience it, you feel it. it's different than going to a W at the time in the 90s, going to a WWF or WCW show.
Yeah.
ECW felt like you were a part of the show.
Right.
I think the Eliminators belong up there. That's my for if you're asking me what I think, the Eliminators definitely.
Absolutely, and innovative for that time for sure. You
Oh
know, a
yeah.
lot of the moves that they would hit, and they were just a team that definitely stood out for sure.
Oh yeah.
So, what would you say is the best piece of advice that you've ever received within the wrestling business?
I would say it was Bruno San Martino. The night of our shoot interview that's never been released, and I hope one day it is. We're out to dinner, um, and Bruno, after he's talking to my dad, I'm eating my food and I'm sitting there, and then Bruno goes, hey kid," or whatever. He says something. He goes, I couldn't hear him because it was loud. There's people in the restaurant. He goes, "Do you like what you do?" And I said, "Huh? What do you? Do I like what I? Yeah, of course. I don't know if you mean in wrestling or do you mean?" He goes, and then he says to me, he goes, "I'll get back to you in a couple minutes. Figure it out." So he asks again in a few minutes. He goes, "Do you like what you do?" So I said, "Oh, if you're talking about wrestling," he goes, "I'm talking about in anything. And if you have to think about it," he goes, "then you're not happy. You should do what makes you happy all the time." He goes, "That's how you should look at it." So I remember going, I'm thinking to myself, I'm not telling them this, but I remember like my father has an insurance business and I'm working in insurance at State Farm. But my father never pressured me, never pushed me into working with him or anything. But I remember just waking up, doing 9 to 5, and being unhappy and trying to find my way. I wasn't married yet. This is still 2009. And I'm just like, I don't know what I want to do and this and that. And. So I was unhappy. I think I was like 28 at the time. I felt lost, to be honest with you. And then slowly, I'm seeing my dad, like, before his health was declining, he was getting up like in his late 60s, early 70s. And I remember he was going to close his insurance business a couple times. He talked about it. But this time I used the opportunity when he mentioned it to say, if you'd like, I'll take over your business. And he goes, you have to, and then he said to me, you have to want it. I don't want somebody in, and he goes, he goes, why don't you start Monday? You come over. I said, oh, this is happening pretty fast. I didn't think that this was gonna, so I start working for my dad. I give my notice to State Farm. I told him like I remember going, okay, I'll quit State Farm. He made me give notice. He goes, no, you give them notice like a man. You go in Monday, you go talk to this guy, and his name was Joe, the manager at my State Farm. His name was Joe, and he was a nice guy. He taught me great things. So I didn't want. My dad said you should look him in the eye in person, tell him I'm giving my notice and this and that. Do you need me for 2 weeks? And he said, okay, that's great. If you could help me 2 weeks till I find somebody else to train them because I had a light. I have a light. I'm a licensed PNC, so I was able to sell products. It's not easy in a second to find somebody and train them. So I didn't want to screw the guy, and my dad knew that as somebody who does insurance. So he told me give notice and then you could come. So after I gave notice, I started working with my dad. I wasn't making any money. I was living under my dad's roof. He was paying my bills. He was letting me buy stuff on eBay with his credit card and whatever, but I didn't feel like a man. I didn't feel like my own man, that I was buying my own things and I was doing things. I didn't feel like I earned it. So he would have me sit the garage in my office even till now doesn't have air conditioning. It doesn't have heat. I'm sorry. So it's cold in there. I'm putting on a jacket. I'm freezing. All the files are there. I'm not answering phones. All I'm doing is like the bottom of the work kind of thing. Putting papers in the correct files and customer comes in, they need something done, and like these customers wouldn't even give me the money to give them payments or give receipts. My dad didn't even let me interact with customers as much unless he was there supervising. And I remember, like, if I took a break or I went across the street, he goes, "Where did you go?" I go, "I was just gonna go grab a." He goes, "Did I tell you you could go?" And I was like, "Whoa!" He's not wearing the dad hat right now. He's wearing the Kellen, insurance boss hat. And I was just like, "Wow." And I remember I remember being so immature and stupid at the time, looking back on it now, not realizing what he was doing for me. He was really like hard on me, but there was a reason. long story short, as it keeps going, it's been months now. I'm not getting paid. My dad comes in at the last minute, at the end of the day, to collect the money or checks or whatever, and I'm doing all this work. And I remember I'm learning as I'm going. I'm learning and I'm running the business now. Like he left me to just like I remember going, well, how come he's not here to help me? He left me here to do all this work by myself. Now I'm realizing he's doing this so I could sink or swim on my own to prove that I could do it. Then finally, he gives me the keys. This was like long after. He goes, I remember going like I'm like I remember him going like I one time I made a little complaint about something. He goes, "You want to quit? There's the door. Go home and watch Oprah." The exact words. Go home and watch Oprah. You don't want to work? Go. Old school, very old school, no nonsense. I'm not gonna put up with this nonsense. I'm his son, and I'm like, why is he treating me like this? I'm so immature, not realizing what I'm about to be given, and I'm almost there at the end of that road. And finally, this is even before he got sick with lung cancer and everything. He told me, he goes, he gives me the keys and he goes, "Here you go." And I remember the way I feel right now. I remember like starting to tear it up. Like finally, he never gave me a pat on the back or told me like you're doing a good job, but that was his way to tell me I was. And he told me that I'll never forget exact words. He goes, "Was it as hard as it looked?" And I said, "No, it was really, it was a lot harder." He goes, he goes, "Now you pay the taxes. This is your building. You earned it. You earned it with your sweat." He goes, "This is yours. The business is yours." After this happened over a period of a year and a half. Like I wasn't making it. Like he was paying my bills. Like I have that safety net. He's there for me, but I never felt like my own man to felt like I earned it. And finally, I felt like I earned it. And even the other people in the office, they were feeling bad for me in the beginning. They thought like, "Oh, here's this kid coming in, nepotism, this and that." When they started seeing how I was getting treated, and I think he was showing them, if I'm going to treat my own son like this, what do you think I'm going to do? So you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he was grooming me at the same time. I felt like it was almost like a punishment or getting hit. And I remember so many times I wanted to quit. And he's like, "You want to quit? There's the door. Go quit. It's okay. You want to quit? Go home. Go." I remember like calling my sister, going, "Mary, he's being so hard on me." He goes, she's like, just stick it out. It'll be better. He'll come around. You know." And I said this at my father's eulogy, in his funeral, in his during my eulogy to him. And my daughter was 3 months old at the time, yeah. And I said, "I never forget. I'll never forget what he did for me. Now I understand why. When I have my daughter now I understand why he did this. You know, you as a dad, you want what's best for your kids, and you want them to find their own way, but you don't want to give it to them. My father could have given me money, could have just let me just get whatever I wanted, but what I learned around that was just more the knowledge that I learned from insurance and how to do claims now, how to do underwriting, how to A through Z, as Iron Sheik would say, just knowing the business. That was the greatest gift he gave me, and I was so thankful to tell him that while he was sick. And I had fully taken over at that point. For more than before he was sick, even 2 years before he got sick, I already had taken over. So then I remember telling him like, "What am I going to do without you? You're going to be gone, and like I don't know who's going to help me." He goes, "God will help you. Just keep going, keep doing what you're doing." So I'll always be thankful for what he gave me, not just for wrestling, but in life. Like he really took me by the hand and made me the man I am today. Because I was immature. I could have been a real jerk, immature, didn't realize how good I had it. And then as I got older, I started to see it. Like even till now, like everything I do now, like now I'm doing for my daughter. And like I don't want her to take things for granted, or she'll say like, "I want a labubu," or whatever, and like, she's like bragging to some of her friends like, "Oh, I got another one." It's like, stop bragging and be thankful for what you have. Don't show people that I want. And I told her, as much as I just gave it to you, I could take it away as long as you're doing good in school and this and that. And sometimes I feel bad that I'm hard on her, but I want her. I'm trying to instill what my father like taught in us, to have a not just strong work ethic, but to be humble about it and to be kind to people. And you know but I remember when he said, is it as hard as it looked? It's like he had it all planned. Like he was waiting for me to get to that finish line.
Yeah.
And it was like finally I'm getting that validation. I'm getting that pat on the back. And he just left the keys to the office on the desk. He got in his car. He had his white Tesla he had just bought. This was 2016. This was before Teslas were like a big thing. He got in his car and I watched him drive off. And I was like, is he coming back? And then the other guys in my office was like, no, I think you're the running the show now. Like, he would come in periodically and this and that, but he was always like a cheerleader at that point, or a wealth of information for some of the customers. They would call him the big boss. Where's the big boss? Even till now, it's been 7 years since my dad passed, and people still call me Khellah Jr., which I don't mind. I don't mind being in his shadow. I don't, because I know like it's like it's a good shadow to be in. And I'll say this, and I said it in his funeral. If I could be 10% of the person he was, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's a great lesson learned for sure. And now you could always ask yourself when you're feeling maybe that you're not, where you need to be. Always think of your father, of course, and what he did for you, and think of what Bruno said. Are
Yeah.
you happy? Are you happy
Right.
with what you're doing?
Oh
And
yeah. For
those are
sure.
pieces of advice you could look back on. Now, within the wrestling industry, real quick, what would you say is your greatest challenge, Ben? And on the flip side of that, most rewarding for you?
Greatest challenge would be challenge. Um, I think there were a lot of learning experiences in the beginning. Like I remember just buying inventory, buying magazines for $30 when they were worth only 5, not knowing what things are worth. Trial by error, just losing money to understand what I'm doing. Because as far as the collecting and the hobby, I felt so bad. Like at the time when I was first buying things from Big Andy and other places, Big Andy was the only one that gave me deals, like he did with you. But I went to other places and I would buy things, and I remember just feeling like I got taken afterwards, and not be able to sell like some of the items that I like even paid half of what I paid, But what's the second part of the question?
Just most rewarding.
Most rewarding was getting to interview a lot of guys, not just doing interviews, but just sitting in the hotel bars with some of these guys, and I go, wow, I can't believe I'm sharing a beer with Eric Bischoff. I can't believe I'm talking, even sharing a beer in his hotel room. That Hulk Hogan, and I don't even drink beer, but when he offered, I was like, oh, Hulk Hogan's offering me beer. I'm gonna drink beer. Same thing happened in Texas when Michael Hall and Brian Kelly and Danny Deck and myself, when we saw Stone Cold Steve Austin, we were one of the last. We were actually the last people in the line.
Mm.
And I remember there were people in front of us. And I said, hey guys, why don't we be the last ones? Maybe we get to spend a little extra time with Austin. And after that, he was in stone cold mode, exactly the way he was on TV. He wasn't real. He goes, ah, you son. He saw me with the Rhode Island Zone, the Tim White. He saw me with the polo shirt, the friendly tap.
Yep.
And he goes, oh, son of a, that's Tim White. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's actually here. He's on the phone right now. Hey, he's like, hey, I'm over here with one of your guys here wearing your polo. Like he was like, it was so funny. And like that Austin is like, yeah, let's have a beer and then let's toast or whatever. So then I said, and these guys could vouch for me, and Michael, all these guys. I was like, yeah, but I don't know. I had my gout pills in my pocket, like for gout. Anybody who knows has gout, you get a flare up. So drinking alcohol is like a trigger for gout. So I go, oh no, but I don't know if I could do that. I'm gonna get gout. He goes, gout. What the f is that, son? And I remember like, and then Danny's like, just drink it, man. Because I was sharing the room with Danny. And he goes, when we get back to the room, you could take one of those pills and it'll knock it out. So I remember drinking the beer, and then like a couple hours later, my foot started going bum 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 bum. I'm like, oh no.
Mhm.
But it was just worth it because Austin said, let's have a beer. Like I felt
Yeah.
the pressure, but I wanted to have that memory. Same thing with Hogan. Same. So that was the rewarding part. To answer the question is like getting to rub elbows, like, and it's just like I'm just some kid from Jersey City that never thought in a million years I'll be around these guys that broke their backs in an era that, and this is where what led me to write the book and just so many different chapters and stories. I did over 300 hours of interviews with these guys. This was the most rewarding part, is finally putting it together. Is like just you could hear it in their voice, like just the pain and the blood and all the sacrifice and everything these guys went through. and to put their stories together in a book like this, this has been ongoing for over 2.5 years, staying up till 4 in the morning. If you noticed, I haven't done any auctions in over a year. I've just been so consumed with this book. Like as soon as I get off of work, I get home and I already have ideas down. Sometimes I'll have a little notepad in the car and I start writing stuff down. Okay, I should talk about this and add this in, or maybe I'll take this out, or till finally it's like pretty much done, and it should be out for pre-order WrestleMania weekend. Um,
And what's
that's
the name
been
of
the
the book?
most. It's called Urban Legends of Pro Wrestling. There's 60 plus chapters, over 100 stories, all verified by different talent. It's not something that you just grab off the internet, and it's a lot of rumors that are finally addressed, whether we're going to dispel rumors or we're going to confirm them as fact. Some guys that never wanted to talk before, I got a lot of talent that talked about things like, you know, from PN News and the whole wall. There's like so many chapters. Um, and the personal story, I mixed some personal stories. My phone call with the Macho Man with Lenny Poffo on three-way. I was trying to get him for a shoot interview. That's a whole chapter itself. And how that unfolded, and just a lot of good memory. Like talk about, I just spoke with 3 hours, and I did not expect how great that interview would be. Was with Bret Hart. It was supposed to only be 20 minutes. It went to over 3 hours. He Bret is a great storyteller, not just in the ring, out of the ring. It's no surprise to me. Like, but when I actually got to talk to him, I go, wow, that's been the most fulfilling thing. Like, there's somebody that I remember him giving his glasses to the kid right next to me, and Jim Neidhart ripping it up in the heart attack tour. He ripped up his glasses and threw it on, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, and I remember like picking up half of the sunglasses and I kept it. And I told Brett, I was like, I still have half of the sunglasses that the Neidhart ripped.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's been the most fulfilling part. And interviewing, like there's such a great chapter about Ron Garvin and who used to be Tennessee Lee, Colonel Rob Parker, Rob
Yeah.
Fuller,
Yep.
the territories with his company Continental. There's so many and a lot of great stories that nobody's ever heard of before, that you can't even Google or find, but it's in there. And I try to do it as one continuous, from eras like the Paul Bosch retirement show, just details about that. There's also a fan who was at the show. He's explaining what happened, that stuff that wasn't on camera. So there's a lot of good stuff. This is not like if you're looking for a book that's going to be like sleazy or hurt people, or it's going to be, that's not the kind of book. Like your podcast is not that kind of podcast. This is more for the real wrestling fan that wants to hear good stories, maybe hear stuff that they never heard of before. There's just so many good tidbits and stories along the way. Even goes back as the 50s. There's stories in there from the 1950s, like the riot in Madison Square Garden with the Dr. Jerry Graham, and just getting a lot of good quotes, firsthand quotes from guys that even before were hesitant, didn't even want to do interviews. Then later, they would tell me like, "Hey, you know what? Let's try it. Let's see." And then I would send them the chapter because I wanted their approval on certain things I would mention or say, and they had no problem. They said, "Oh, this is well written. Okay, go for it." And then they would even quote like, "I hope you sell 1 million copies of these things." So I was like, "Oh, great. I hope so too." Like, but I really like what I put together for that. I'm very proud of it. And it's a book that your kids and my daughter could read. There's no vulgarity in there. There's nothing with sexual overtones or anything at all. It's something that any kid in a library, if I'm lucky enough, a library picks it up, or anybody, you could pick it up and read it. If any age could pick it up and read it
Hmm.
without, there's nothing in there that is going to be, I mean, there's some good shocking stories, but a lot of it is like ribs, road stories. It's good. It's not like something that somebody's going to say, hey, I really didn't like what was in there. It's mostly like, and it's their own firsthand account. This is stuff that they said, and they even approved afterwards, because like you, I would want the talent's blessing. Like you're in this for the long haul. You're not here to just hurt anybody. These people. It's still, even some of guys that were passed away, and some of the ladies that passed away. Their stories, and I try to think of like, okay, they have families, they have people, loved ones. even they're gone, it should still be well written. And even I contacted some of those people who have passed away, their families, and they even, I send it, the wife or the daughter would say, "This is great, really love what you wrote, good luck," and that was it. So it took so many years for this book to come to fruition, to put it all together. And now with the Bret Hart, there's even bonus chapters that I'm going to include for the pre-orders only and the first run of those copies. So there's going to be an extra 30, 40 pages, about another 10 chapters that is for those special pre-orders and the first run of the book.
Very nice. Now, where can fans expect to purchase this book around WrestleMania time?
They could get it on my website, screentimed.com. It's like a pop culture website. I write articles on there and everything in long form. It's not just pro wrestling, but it's all of pop culture, music, movies, TV, nostalgia. I try to do it with like a twist and go into long form. I haven't written any articles lately in the last month or so. I'm probably just because I've been so focused on the book. But that's where the book will be. Also on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. It'll be available on all the platforms. I already had discussions with, so they're going to be carrying it online, and I already spoke with some of the handlers, the buyers from Barnes and Noble. They're gonna have a test run, have it in Barnes and Noble stores. You can actually pick it up in the store as well.
Nice. All right. Well, we'll definitely keep up on that. And once you get more information, we'll certainly plug it here on the podcast and encourage the fans to pick up a copy.
Thank you, Joe. I really appreciate your time. Really do.
Without a doubt. And, when can fans expect, or even fans that aren't familiar with it, Auction Andrew? Obviously, you sell lots of great wrestling memorabilia over the years. When can Auction Andrew come back? When we were looking at that?
Well, it'll be very soon, probably before Mania, and also I'm looking during Easter week when my daughter's going to be out of school. I'll have more time, and I'll have some days where I'll devote to just. I've already started like putting together I've stack of unsigned promos, stack of signed promos. So I'll start putting them out there and doing some live whatnots and Facebook, and I'll also do some post sales as well. And I'll give you first dibs. Let's put it that way. You're going to be surprised at a lot of the stuff that'll be. There are a lot of promos that I have not shown to anybody that I've picked because I still buy collections, but I just haven't done anything lately just because it's been so busy. And every time I want to do something, it's like I postpone it or I'll forget about it. And so I was like, instead of me advertising it when I'm ready, I'm just going to post and say, okay, tomorrow we're going to do a live. We're no more anticipation. We're just going to go live and do it.
Yep.
So that's the plan. I went through all the stuff because big event is coming. Your show is coming. There's WrestleCon coming, and I have Skinner and Tatanka going to be there that I'm bringing in. So I'm looking through promos of those guys and other things. So while I'm doing that, I'm compiling everything and putting them in order. And it's, and I bought like 200 top loaders, brand new ones from Amazon. So these promos could be in top loaders, each of them, and we're going to take it from there. But there are a lot of promos and I know you're adding more to your collection. I think you're going to love a lot of the stuff that's going to come out. Like there's some good promos for sure.
Awesome. Did you see the Mantar promo that popped up recently?
No, I did not. If you
A
could send me that.
Mantar P Series promo.
I've never seen a Mantar promo.
Neither have I. It was official Mantar P Series
Wow.
promo, and it is now in the Mike Ford collection.
That is sick.
Yeah.
That is sick.
Yep.
Wow.
I wish we had it when he was around, and he could sign
I
it.
know. And the thing is, Mantar was at a show. I remember him at a show in Jersey few years back.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I remember Big Bully Busick. I remember seeing his promo after he passed away, and I'm just like, oh man. And I remember him sitting by himself. He had the cigar, he had this big mustache, had the hat, and everything was full. He was full gimmick, but the guy's not a gimmick. He's really he's a man's man.
Yeah.
And when I saw him, same as Bad News, sitting there, not sitting like lonely Virgil. God, and no disrespect to Virgil, but he's sitting there like a proud man. He's sitting there and he's not bothering anybody walking by. Hey, do you want? He's just sitting there. If you come to him, great. If not, whatever. But I remember passing so many times, and I remember like I got like one autograph of Bad News Brown, and it was like on a magazine-looking page. It wasn't even a promo. And then somebody told me who got a promo, the same one, that color one, that was the promo that he was signing. He had these promos on his table.
Wow.
He had this promo unsigned sitting at his table. So I got this promo signed from one of the guys that did get it signed, because I remember asking, where did you get this signed? I wanted to see if he was, and the guy told me, oh, I got this signed in Carter at some show. So I knew it was good. Then I still got it
Oh,
authenticated after, but I knew it was good because I could tell by the signature. You know,
yeah,
you're an expert with it. We know what what these signatures are. So
exactly. And I got a
yeah.
two-sided promo question for you before we go. So, what is there a promo out there that you got rid of in a previous collection, and to this day it bothers you? And then on the other side of that, is there a promo that you've always wanted and have not been able to get yet?
The promo that I've always wanted and I still haven't been able to get is the headbangers with the tag team belts.
Yes.
They both. I think one of them still lives. I think Chad still. He lives in Jersey. It's like an hour from me. I'm not sure about Thrasher. I don't know if he's in Jersey or not, but he's always at shows. And I bring it up. I'm like, "Do you happen to have this promo?" He goes, "No. What does it even look like?" So I pull it on my phone and I show it to him, and he was like, "I remember us taking the photo, but." We didn't have the belts long enough that I didn't even. They never gave us this promo, so I don't even have. I never even got a copy myself. So I thought that was pretty fascinating, but I always wanted that promo, and I always wanted the Sheik, Sultan, and Bob Backlund one
Yes.
that Mike Ford got, and I'm still mad at what's his name, Bobby Rydell. I love Bobby, but I really wanted that promo from him, and he said, "Oh, I'm not ready to give that up yet." Then I see Mike Ford post it months later, and he goes, "Oh, add it to my collection," and my heart dropped. I was like, "Oh
Was
man!"
that
I was
was
like,
that
"But you know,
Bobby's?
that was Bobby's."
Oh my gosh.
That was Bobby's promo. And I know you
I,
spoke to Bobby many times,
I
and he
worked
has
on
such a great
Bobby for
collection.
years for that promo.
Same with me. He would be like, "Oh, I'm gonna see how much I could get." So he was trying to, like, which is fine. As a seller, you want to get the best value, of course. But I went. It softened the blow that it went to Mike, because Mike is such a
Yeah.
good guy. He's the OG of the OGs. He really is the Godfather. I call him always the Godfather.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that he got it. So but yeah, that promo, but the headbangers one I really would like. The promo that I sold and I wish I never did, that had to be the I had a promo of I had a signed promo of uh Dusty Rhodes that Dan Sky bought, that I'm still trying to get back, but he's always been so busy and he's doing he singing and DJing at weddings and stuff, but I've been trying to get that promo back. That was a special promo. Like, I
Does
wish I'd never sold.
does Dan still collect promos, or is he out of the
He
game?
stopped collecting. He's not out of the. He stopped collecting, but he said he's gonna make a little run soon, and he'll probably do an auction at some point. But he did tell me the Dusty Rhodes he'll give me first. I told him, listen, as long as you keep it within the family, you have it or I have it, we're good. Same like you. If you said you had a promo you don't want to get rid of, I know that you have it. And at some point, if you're gonna get the best deal with me, you're gonna probably reach out to me first, like, hey, I'm thinking about selling this. Do you want it? Instead of just posting it. There was a couple promos. I was just like, ooh, I missed it. And like, you would post something and then somebody claimed it. I went to check the comment to see if it got claimed. And I'm like, I got claimed. There were a couple like that. I think you did an ST Jones or a few others that got
Uh,
claimed. You had some good ones. You broke the internet, my friend.
yeah, that
You
was
broke the internet and you broke my bank account. I never wrote so many checks that week. My wife is like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Listen, I'm getting the collection of." He goes, "Oh my God." He goes, "When is this gonna end?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Are you gonna sell some of this stuff?" I go, "Yeah, yeah, eventually." I didn't sell any. I think I sold a couple of them, but it was for
yeah,
me. I still kept most of them. The Mr. Fuji, the British Bulldogs that you just saw. I mean, I still have these. Like,
yeah,
it's hard to let go of those, because, and I know I got them from you, so they're even more special because where you got them from.
right.
Like, you could talk about JSA, PSA, Beckett all you want, but when you can get them from somebody who's been in the company, like a Steve Taylor, like Tom Buchanan, like Mark Eaton, I mean, just y- y- all the PSAs and JSA authentication, I'd rather have that and the story behind it, and that it was in their possession, and we're buying these pieces from them. Like, even the other stuff, like I saw, like the Shane McMahon bachelor party invitation, or the Christmas cards that you posted. It's just these are stuff that like you can't put a value on, even though and you're not selling for a lot of money. I think you're asking for $50, $75, and I'm just like, it was like so hard to turn up. It's like, here, just take my money, go, take it all.
Right.
Like, I would just remember at one point, I remember claiming all the stuff, and you're telling me what the total is, and I was like, we're at 3,000 already, and you're like, oh yeah, my friend, you still want any more promos? I'm like, yeah, yeah, it's okay, we'll take some more.
Yeah,
I'll tell.
that was crazy time during that, coming out of COVID, and it was
Oh
crazy.
yeah, the COVID stuff, and I'll tell you a real funny story real quick. So during COVID, I think I'm doing it for with Marty or Marty Party, T Mart. He's doing an auction, and it's late at night. This is when no sports are on. This is during COVID. I'm in my pajamas. I'm sitting in my living room. I'm bored. My wife is half asleep on the couch, on the other side of the couch, and I'm watching looking at my phone, and I'm watching the auction, and you could hear Marty going, and we're at 1750 for Andrew Khellah. And I'm like, like, stop saying my name and all the. My wife is hearing all this. She goes, 1750. What are you buying? Like, that was what's happening during COVID. Like,
Yeah.
I remember, like, I was making a lot of money selling stuff, but I would also be spending on like certain things. But looking back now, some of those things are worth a lot more than what I spent on, and I still have a lot of these things. So as I'm buying and selling, you see, you fall into the same trap. We buy and we sell and we collect and we replenish, and it's like the Brock Lesnar shirt: step, repeat. You know what I mean? Like it's a never ending thing. Like guys like us, they're not gonna go away. Like you sell a collection, we're not going nowhere. You come right back. Because the passion is there. That's our hobby. It's what makes us happy.
Yeah.
You know.
And
So
fast forward many years from now, looking back at your time in wrestling as a whole, how do you want to be remembered? What do you want your legacy to be?
I hope that I'm still around for because I'm 44, but that's a question for somebody in their old age. But how I want to be remembered is just somebody who was honest, who did the right thing. That like I try to answer everybody's email. I don't care if you're a long time buyer or you've never. Or I don't even know who you are and you're a first time buyer. I try to answer everybody's email because I know on the flip side when I don't get emails, messages replied back to, you feel a certain way. Especially if somebody like I get people all the time sending me a message like, when are we gonna get another auction with the lag? And they write
Mhm.
out with the lag,
Yeah.
and it makes me go, wow, they really like they really like when I used to do the auctions, and they have good memories of it, and during COVID and even before that, or at shows they'll see me in person, and they'll say things like, oh, when's the next interview, or when is this, or when is that. And I would tell people, you'll never see another shoot interview again. I'm not doing DVDs anymore. You might see me on, do something like maybe short clips on YouTube, or even that I kind of stopped. I've been focusing more on like the books. So hopefully if I'm lucky enough to still be around, hopefully I'll be remembered as somebody who just loved wrestling so much. Wrestling is my first love. Um, just to be remembered as a you know great father, hopefully. Just somebody who loved his family and just was a great collector. And I like how Mike Ford was a mentor to me. There are some new guys that want to collect now, and they'll ask me questions that I remember asking Mike 17 years ago. On a regular email because we didn't have social media much at the time, and I remember waiting and dying for Mike to just reply back, and I would get a reply maybe 2 days later because it would be like just emails, unlike now where everything is at your fingertips.
Yeah.
So people messaging me to go, hey, what do you think about this promo? You think this is legit? You think that's legit? How much would you price this at? Like, I'm sure you get those questions too. You're one of these OG guys. I'm sure a lot of people, and I just gotta say, the page that you built from zero to like I think over what now, 12, 13,000 is just phenomenal.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. So I mean, it's just that I just want to be remembered for somebody who really loved wrestling, who just wanted to, I try to just be fair as possible with the prices and just be, if somebody even they don't want to buy nothing and they ask advice, I will give them advice, whether they want to take it or not. Oh, what do you think of this autograph? You think this is legit? You think this is? And I'll tell them, look, I can't tell because you're just sending me pictures. I can't tell if this is an original promo. But what I could give you is if the back of the promo looks like this, or if the surface looks like this, or if it's not sized this way, chances are it's not an original promo, or et cetera, et cetera. So I try to, I want to give back the way guys like you and Mike and Ryan Reese and Ben Globe and these guys given to me, because I wouldn't have had this promo collection if it wasn't for guys like you and these other guys. So I just try to reciprocate that. And that's how, I feel like that's how it should be for everybody. I feel like if everybody just took the time out of their busy, I know people get busy all the time, but sometimes it means something to somebody when you see a message and you don't reply to them. You don't know on the other end how that person feels.
Yeah. Right.
So it's better, like, to answer somebody, whether they're leaving you a voice recording or they're sending you a message, just reply back to them, because you don't know how you might affect somebody else who might respect you, like you, and you may not even hear from that person again. I remember one time I saw somebody 3 years later after they had messaged me, just from him writing "Happy Birthday, Andrew." It was like on an old December 2019 post. This was a year after my father passed. So for whatever reason, it showed up in my other folder. Sometimes their messages show up in an other folder than your regular inbox. And then this guy walked up to me in a convention when I had Haku. It was actually at yours in Rhode Island. And he said, "Hey, I was mad at you for a while." And I'm like, what did I do? What happened? I'm thinking, like, what did I do? He goes, "Oh, I messaged you on Facebook and you never replied." And I was like, "Oh, I answer everybody." So he's showing me on his phone. Yeah, you never. And I have a line for Rock and Robin, Haku, but like I want to know what I did to this one guy. And he's showing me, and I'm seeing it. So I go on my phone and I'm looking, and I was like, "Look, it's in my other." And then he goes, "Oh, you didn't see it." I go, "No, I really didn't see it. I'm sorry." He goes, "Oh my God, I'm glad. I was hating you for a while. Like I thought you were being like a prima donna, or you're full of it." I was like, "No, I'm so sorry, man." And I offered it, like, Here, once you get in line, you want to meet Haku? I was gonna give him a free, He goes, "No, no, I'll pay for it. I got the money." I was like, "No, I'm not trying to insult you, but this is from me as a gift, because you took the time to tell me something that I didn't know affected you, and I didn't realize." I'm a nobody, Joe. Like, I'm compared to, like, to these wrestlers and this. I'm like a promoter. I'm a vendor. A hat of among trades, pretty much. I wear different hats. I sell, I collect, but I'm a fan just like everybody else. So feeling what he felt, I understand where he what he felt like, because I felt like this in other situations. But that's the other thing. You can't. You gotta. I'm glad that he came up to me at your show, and he said that. And Rock and Robin was sitting right there, and she was like, "Andrew," she was joking around, "Andrew, you're gonna get heat, Andrew." I was like, "No, I don't want any heat."
That's
But I
great.
thought that was funny, and he got a picture with Haku and he paid for it. I said, By all means, take the pic." He goes, "No, no, that's okay, that's fine." And then he goes, then he said I didn't know that he blocked me. He had unblocked me and sent me a friend request that day, and I thought that was nice. It was on my long drive home back from Rhode Island. I think I was driving like 5 hours back to Jersey, and I remember this, and I felt so bad. And I remember when I got home, I didn't even put my stuff in. I had all this stuff in, and I'm messaging the guy back. It's so insignificant to somebody, like, say if it was for me, and like I don't know this guy, but I remember how he felt, and him standing in front of me, and he's showing me his phone, and his hand was like, and he goes, I hated you, I was so mad at you." And he goes, "I thought you were like, you thought you were some big shot." I was like, "No, I apologize, like I didn't see the message." But ever since that happened, I make it a point now to look through my emails, or I don't care if I'm not on Facebook active for 7 8 days, let's say, or hours or whatever. I will go through every message in my other folder, in my regular inbox, just because you never know. Sometimes somebody will just take a picture. "Hey, what do you like this? Are you interested?" Instead of just not replying, like, say I'm not interested. Say it's autograph of I'll give any name, Nikolai
Right.
Volkov, let's just say. I'll just say, and the guy's like giving me like, "Oh, would you do this for $20?" And I'm just like, "No, I'm not interested, but I appreciate you reaching out. Thank you so much." I make sure to reply. Just little things like that, like But that's why that question triggered me I remember that stuff. I want to be remembered as somebody that didn't take things for granted, or didn't ignore anybody, or didn't make people feel slighted or hurt in any way, because we're all in the same. I mean, what goes around comes around. So you don't want to have somebody feel like that, and you don't want to feel like that.
Sure. Well, I appreciate you taking the time today, Andrew, and being here. It's been a pleasure to have you and talk with you and chat it up. And I certainly
No,
encourage the
thank you.
fans to, check out your book. And like I said, we'll supply the details as they come out as we get closer. WrestleMania season is almost upon us. And what a great time to have the book release. And of course, Auction Andrew, get that back up and running. For the fans who are looking to get promo photos, Promo Photo Mania on Facebook, Auction Andrew on Facebook. Check out those groups. Lots of daily posts and lots of great stuff coming in, collections from all over the world.
With the
With the
lag.
lag, Mr. Andrew Khellah, thank you so much for being here. I'm
Thank
Joseph
you.
Bruen, and this has been the All Access Entertainment Podcast. For Andrew and myself, we will see you all next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave your comments.